Good evening and welcome to I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi, Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Hello, welcome to Mentors. My name is Tracy Speak and I'll be your host. Webster's defines mentors as wise, loyal advisors. This program, Mentors, seeks to serve as a forum for seniors to share their wisdom with Memphis and the surrounding locale. We hope to address the life issues that seniors face. Mentors are wonderful people that make significant contributions to the quality of life. One of life's joys is to bird watch out in the wild or in your own backyard. Here in the Memphis area, we're blessed to be on many flyways, which brings many different varieties of wild birds to us. For seniors, this is an inexpensive recreation that provides countless hours of entertainment. Ben and Debbie Bruce are co-owners of Wild Birds Unlimited Nature Shop on Mount Moriah. They have the knowledge necessary to make this marvelous pastime ours. Debbie's here to help us prepare for these wonderful guests and friends. So welcome, Ms. Debbie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
It's always a joy. So help us understand a little bit more about getting ready for these birds and preparing for them, and then tell us how we can feed them.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Well, we have birds that are here year-round, but spring is an exciting time of the year. Think of your yard or your habitat as a stage production, and the set is changing, the scenery's changing. So not only do you have the wintering birds that are preparing to leave and go to their summering grounds, most of them farther north, we have our year-round resident birds such as your cardinals and your mourning doves and your chickadees, many other birds that are busy foraging for food. This time of the year, natural food is somewhat depleted, and they're busy setting up territories. They're busy looking for places to nest. And then you have your summer birds coming back. So you have a yard that soon will have new actors, so to speak, or new people on the set, because they're going to come in and just be here for the summer to raise their young. And then you mentioned the flyways. We also have the birds that are just passing through. So there's a lot of things that we can do to make our yard more desirable for these guests to come in, and also things that you can do with children and grandchildren to open up a new world for them.
Well, I'm sure that one of the things that we can do are have trees and bushes and plant the various plants that attract.
You are so right. You want to have different levels of vegetation, because the building blocks of your yard is going to be your vegetation, starting with the ground all the way up to the canopies of the trees. Some birds like to forage on the ground, where others you will only see them up in the canopies of the trees. But yes, you want to plant things that are going to bring in birds for food, to supply birds a place for shelter and a place for nesting.
Sounds wonderful. So lead us on our journey now of what we need to do.
Well, a journey, that makes me think about a road trip. So if you're taking a road trip, what do you want to do at the end of the trip? You're tired, you're hungry, you're looking for a place to settle down, to rest, a place to get something to eat and something to drink. And that's what the birds are looking for too. So you want to have food, you want to have water, you want to have shelter, And many times the shelter is also a place to raise your young.
Ah, excellent. So I see you brought a one of the houses here.
This is actually a bluebird house. We have all different styles, but what's important about a bird house is the size opening, the size of the cavity, the thickness of the wood, and if it's going to have ventilation or drainage.
Okay, and the ability to clean it out. I think this one is also
Right.
hinged.
This one can be cleaned from the side after every nesting. Bluebirds, for the folks that have bluebirds, they'll have up to 3 or 4 broods in the summer.
Oh,
And
how
after
amazing.
every brood which has fledged or left the house, they need to remove the old nesting material, and then the female will build another nest. If you didn't remove it, you'd have a nest layers all the way up to the opening, and that wouldn't be good.
Extraordinary.
So not all birds use bird houses. Some birds, such as your mourning doves and your robins and that, only use an open cup nest in a tree.
Amazing. Well, I know that you brought some visuals to kind of help us in this journey and to show us things.
I have. Well, when thinking about making your yard desirable, you want to have a food source.
Yes.
Number one, it's recommended that you plant things that are going to attract nature in. And thinking about planting, doing shrubs and trees is a definite plus, especially if they berry in the winter, in the fall, and provide food through the winter. Another thing to think about is spring planting. You want to plant flowers that are fragrant, that'll bring insects in,
Ah,
because many of your songbirds are going to eat insects. And then another thing to plant are flowers that are going to have lots of nectar for your hummingbirds. Those are all natural foods, but you can also supplement. You can put a feeder such as this with sugar water for your hummingbirds.
ah, excellent.
You can use suet, which you're targeting birds that would eat insects with suet, such as many of your chickadees, your tufted titmice, your wrens. They'll all eat suet as well. Your woodpeckers would love it. You want to bring in seed. Seed can be presented in cylinders, which is really, really easy to do and pretty clean to feed. And then in that little dish, we have live mealworms, which is a beetle larva. And all the birds love mealworms.
Mealworms.
Mealworms. They'll come in and eat those themselves and then fly away with a beak full of mealworms, taking them back to the nest.
So it's important to have food available for them and also water.
Water is extremely important. Water is probably the forgotten element. Folks will think, oh, the birds are hungry, I'll feed the birds, but sometimes they don't realize that you need water every day. The birds do as well. Even in cold temperatures, they need water. They have to bathe to keep those feathers clean so that they can fluff them up and insulate and be a healthy bird.
How great. We're all getting ready for the birds now, and we're going to take this break, and then we'll come back and look at some of the beautiful pictures that you've drawn for us.
Sounds great.
When we return, Debbie will continue our preparing for the songbirds and the hummingbirds for this summer.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Everybody needs a helping hand. Take a look at your fellow man and tell me what can I do today.
Hey, let me get that for you.
Everybody needs a helping out. If that ain't what it's all about, tell me what.
Thank you, young man.
What can I
No
do?
problem.
What can I do today?
Courtesy. Pass it on.
I I got it.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Let us continue now in this discussion of the wonderful songbirds and birds that will attract this summer. And as we look at these, give us some good ideas about how we can continue to attract them and how we can continue to feed them and to make sure that they have the proper habitat that they want.
Okay. Well, as we mentioned, having your foods, a variety of foods will bring in a variety of birds. And everyone probably starts out with feeding seed because that's very easy to do. Many of your year-round residents, such as your cardinals and chickadees, will be on seed feeders, cylinder feeders, or hopper feeders, or tube feeders. Another bird that you could put food out for would be a summer resident, such as your Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, what big, pretty.
They are beautiful birds. Your Orioles are actually in the blackbird family, so it kind of gives you an appreciation for blackbirds.
True.
And it's a bird that is going to summer in the Mid-South, but not always in your yard. But during migration time, you can maybe entice it to your yard with something orange, such as oranges. They love grape jelly. They also love mealworms. But there again, having water in the yard is going to attract them in. Having those mealworms, if you have bluebirds in your habitat, they'll go to a dish full of the live mealworms, but other birds will too, not just your bluebirds. In our habitat, we have mealworms out every day, and it's usually Carolina wrens, tufted titmice, who else? A downy woodpecker occasionally will come and get one.
Really?
And bluebirds. Another food source that you could put out would be your nectar. We mentioned about planting plants that are going to bring in birds with nectar.
Yes.
Those would be many of your native perennials, your sages, your salvias, things like that, things that have a trumpet to them. So your hummingbirds will put that little beak into that and project the tongue into the flower and drink the nectar. Hummingbirds, it's time to get your feeders out at the end of March. That's pretty early. You probably won't see activity until April, but have it out the end of March.
The end of March?
And it's going to depend on our weather as well. Hummingbirds not only are voracious nectar eaters, but they eat lots and lots of insects. That nectar or sugar water is just going to keep that metabolism going so that they can hunt for insects, soft-shelled insects.
How often should we change that nectar?
Good question. Every 3 to 5 days, whether they drink it or not.
Okay, and make sure you clean it well between them. That's one of the things we found.
Exactly. Now, we are on a flyway, so we do experience birds coming through that aren't going to stay here all summer, but are going to go farther north to nest. Many of our neotropical migrants, such as the rose-breasted grosbeak, will come through looking for food. Not only will it look for food, it's going to look for water. Water's the common denominator with all of the birds. Some birds eat insects, some eat seed, but everybody has to have water. So having water in your yard, especially moving water, is a definite plus.
And if it isn't moving, we just have a bird bath. How often should we clean that?
Well, you have mosquitoes to contend with.
Yeah.
So you need to clean it at least every other day.
Every other day,
Empty the old water, put in new water. And then maybe once a week, take a stiff brush and brush it through.
That's a good suggestion. All right, well, what about more of our birds that we need to know, Ms. Debbie?
Oh, that we need to know, my goodness. The average yard, I would say, with just very minimal effort, you can probably hope to see at least 40 species of birds throughout the year. Some of those will be year-round, some of them will be migrants, Some of them will be winter or summer residents. But what's going to dictate who you see is your vegetation.
Well, I know that we had a lot of trees on our lot at our house, and we let one of them rot.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
that we would have the woodpeckers come, and we had both the downy woodpecker and the red-breasted.
That is fun.
We had some marvelous. In fact, we had 3 different kinds. Had the hairy.
Oh, did you? Good.
Downy, which was kind of unusual. They're beautiful little birds, and we could sit there and watch.
If you can leave a tree up like that and not worry about safety issues, we sure encourage that, because it brings in not only birds foraging for the food or the wood beetles and the larvae in the tree that's decaying, but it also becomes a source for nesting too, for cavity nesters. It's just a great area to watch the birds.
For seniors that are in apartments or in condos, now what's a good suggestion for how they feed the birds?
Okay, if their facility allows, I would always recommend clean feeding. Very little residuals with peanuts, shelled peanut feeders, or suet, or our no mess blends. All the shells have been removed, so there's no litter on the ground.
So at places that even don't allow that, if you had the no shell, you'd be okay.
Now, if they don't allow feeders, then I would highly recommend water. And bring birds in with water.
Okay.
And plantings. Even in your flower pots, plant things that are going to be desirable for wildlife.
Betty always plants these little red flowers that really attract the hummingbirds that bring to our syrup.
Right.
For them.
Right. There's lots that you can do with very little effort.
And it's not a great deal of cost for seniors, and that's a
Correct.
real problem sometimes.
That's right.
So if I hear you right, we need to have plenty of food for them. We need to have water constantly available.
Right.
And just to sit back and enjoy
And
God's
to share
gift.
it, to share with someone else.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And a good book that's in general, which one would you recommend for us to get?
There's a number of field guides, the Sibley, the Stokes, the Peterson, the Birds of Tennessee. They're all good guides.
And it's a great gift for seniors.
Yes, it is.
Ms. Davy, thank you so much for being with us
You're
today.
welcome.
It's always great to have you.
Thank you.
And when we come back, we'll have our own Jim Moffett from Best Times telling us about the things to come.
When we don't talk, when we don't touch, when it doesn't feel like we're even in love, it matters to me. When I don't know what to say, don't know what to do, don't know if it really even matters to you, it matters to me.
Well, you're wrong.
I'm wrong. You're the one who misrepresented the facts.
Misrepresent the facts? Are you kidding?
Your proposal's ludicrous.
My
It's
proposal will
ludicrous.
go
It is
exactly the way I say it
Over
will.
my dead body.
I think somebody needs a timeout.
Oh, that's the power of one.
Civility. Pass it on.
One grain of sand can turn the tide.
Our friend Jim Moffett is here to tell us what activities and events that we can enjoy in March in the area.
Well, thank you, Tracy. Gardening.
Yes.
Spring is just around the corner, and March, the March issue of the Best Times, has a front page story on gardening. Master gardener Catherine Lewis, who writes for us each month, is featured with a special story on preparing your garden and flower beds for a beautiful presentation. The Best Times is available free at most Kroger stores, CVS pharmacies, libraries, Walmart, and Walgreens in DeSoto County, as well as 200 other locations in Germantown and Shelby County, Tennessee. Tea and Tour. Tea and Tour for seniors, March 5th, Brooks Museum, 2 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. Join us for a docent-led tour of this moving photographic exhibition, which bears witness to the efforts of both activists and local citizens within the civil rights movement. Reservations required. Call 901-544-6244 by March 1st. It's $3, free for Brooks members. Lunch and Learn. Connie Lumbley with Caring Transitions and John Quinn with Remax Real Estate, both experts in downsizing, discuss the current real estate market. That's Thursday, March the 12th at Robinwood Retirement Resort, 2795 Kirby Whitten in Bartlett. Cooking. Taste of Home's culinary specialist Dana Elliott will be at the Agri Center on Friday, March 13 and Saturday, March 14 to share her home cooking tips and tricks while demonstrating step-by-step recipes for the season's best dishes. This season's event is brought to Memphis by the Southern Women's Show. The Taste of Cooking School is America's leading cooking school program.
Good heavens.
Inspiring more than 135,000 passionate home chefs at 200 plus events nationwide. Attendees experience exciting recipe demonstrations using ingredients that are easily found at the local grocery store. And best of all, the dishes are submitted by home cooks from across the country. Advance tickets are on sale now for $14 and include a ticket to the Southern Women's Show. You can visit their website for details.
It's a great show.
Global Health Day. That's a free event at Raleigh Assembly of God, March 14th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that's at 3683 Austin Pay Highway. Learn about health and wellness, food, sports, fitness, and cooking healthy food demos. Live music, free sports clinic, fitness clinic with Zumba, CrossFit, yoga, and live music, and it's presented by health screenings and massages. Speakers on nutrition, running, triathlons, and more. Music. March 15th, Church of the Holy Communion Choral Evensong, which is mid-Lent, 5:30 p.m. The music of Craig Phillips, Thomas Tellis, and Charles Snyder, sung by the Motet Choir. The reception follows, and that's at 4645 Walnut Grove Road in Memphis. The phone number is 901-767-6987, or you can go to holycommunion.org website. Caregiver Conference. Forget-Me-Not Caregiver Conference featuring authors Karen and Tom Brenner, March 27th at the Kroc Center from 8:30 to 4:30. $10 for family caregivers, $50 for professional caregivers. Call 372-4585 to register. Let's plant some trees. The Wolf River Conservatory annual tree planting at Shelby Farms Park. Volunteers needed at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. March 28th, sign up online at wolfriver.org. Veterans. The Veterans Support Center will give a presentation on the VA Aid and Attendance Program. Learn how a veteran or spouse of a veteran can receive government benefits based on wartime service. That's Saturday, March the 28th, Robinwood Retirement Resort, 2795 Kirby Whitten in Bartlett. Art. The Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church is hosting its third annual Suitable for Framing, March the 28th. More details on that at their website.
Great, and we can find all of this information in the best time.
That's right.
So they can pick up their copy and things will go great. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jim. Seniors, check the best times for reminders of these opportunities, and if you're interested in the air dates of Mentors or any other shows on GHS-TV, you can visit ghstv.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. Also, you can keep up with GHS-TV by visiting us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for being with us on the Mentors program today. It seems that government is attempting to protect us all from every life's rough spot that comes along that's caused by our poor choices. We might want to consider these words of Herbert Spencer, an English professor who lived from 1820 to 1903. The ultimate result of shielding men from the effects of folly is to fill the world with fools. See you in April.